Hello class. Yes, October 1st, 1997, the end day. The day when ska was no longer fashionable. I remember crying my eyes out for weeks. More to the point though, welcome to this Crystalis walkthrough right here on Video Games 101 by way of Let's Play with Brigands. As always, I'm your instructor, Professor Brigands, and for my money, Crystalis, one of the best games for the NES. I think it might be the most underrated gem out of the entire NES library. Those who know about this game know how good it is. In terms of difficulty, I'm going to go ahead and give Crystalis a 6 out of 10, which on the frustration scale equates to biting down and then throwing your controller across the room. Typically because maybe a boss got the better of you, or maybe you're just underleveled for a certain section of the game. Not a problem if you stick to our complete Crystalis walkthrough. We're going to walk you through this entire game step by step. We have item guides for every single town, tell you what to buy, what you need to have on you. Fluff has a sneaky hack for getting stuff a little bit cheaper. Gary has all your boss beaters. Fluff has a whole bunch of other facts about this game. And yeah, it's going to be a good time. I'm looking forward to this one, have been for a while. So let's run the intro and get into this Crystalis walkthrough right here on Video Games 101. Alright, as we start a new game, let's take a look at the backstory here, get some context as to what's going on. 100 years have passed, most of the Earth has become dominated by mutated creatures. Nice shot of silhouettes of birds in the background. Beautiful animation. People worked together to rebuild their villages and their lives, but they still lived in fear. As they feared the rebirth of evil, they remembered the construction of the tower and of its consequences once activation had begun. Once evil emerged, would they still stand a chance? There was still one hope. We are always that one hope. Makes for a more interesting game. That one game tried to defy conventions, wasn't rated very well. But let's pop in our name here. I'm going to go with Professor. Name the character after me, or at least as much as I can squeeze in here. Let's just go with the shortened Prof. As we take a look at the controls for Crystalis now, we attack with B, hold it down to charge up our sword, cast a spell with A that we have equipped, use the item we have equipped with A, and access the items menu with select, and we can hit start from there to save the game as well, and start also does the status screen, which I never use. But anyway, we emerge from this cave and scare the heck out of this person. I like chasing them down like that. So the first thing we want to do is pop in here and get some spending money. Mention the hack that Fluff has for buying things. We'll bring him in just a moment. And then enter here and get your first sword, the Sword of Wind. And if you saw our class on Final Fantasy, then you'll know in every town we had a town-specific item guide of what to purchase from Blaze. We have that once again, so Blaze.
Alright, in Leaf, I recommend that you purchase an alarm flute, an antidote, and then the armor at this point is optional. At the next town, which isn't that far off, we can get much better armor, so you might just hold out until then, but if you want, you can grab the tan hide for 100, gives you 2 melee defense, and the carapace shield, $80 for 2 distance defense, essentially ranged defense. But there you are. The items in Leaf, definitely get that alarm flute, and have an antidote in case you get poisoned.
Alright, thank you very much, Blaze. As soon as we leave Leaf, we're going to head to the northwest and go into this cave to talk to Zebu. As we take a look now at the Briggs notes for Crystalis in this walkthrough. The keys to beating this game: first, know where to go. We're going to give you the most direct route everywhere in this game to beat this as quickly as possible while experiencing everything. Number 2, know the fastest grinding spots to level up. We'll show you that as well. And lastly, stock up on magic rings when you can. That's going to be a little bit later on, but Blaze will talk more about that. And we'll bring in Fluff now. Fluff, I understand there's some sort of shopping hack
That's right, Professor. There's a glitch where you can buy items in stores for cheaper prices than they're charging. All you need to do is highlight an adjacent item, then tap left or right to the item you want and quickly tap A. This will sell it to you for the price of the previous item you were just highlighting. Now in stores where there are blank spaces, you can actually get the adjacent item to the blank space for free by doing the same thing. You'll find pawn shops in later towns, so you can use this trick to essentially print money, stocking up on expensive items and armor for dirt cheap or even free, and later selling them to pawn shops for a tidy profit. Not that money is too hard to come by considering the bit of experience grinding you need to do.
Good call, Fluff. I like it. We're going to be abstaining from that. We're doing the legit playthrough here, but our less scrupulous students, they might get something out of that trick. So, come in here in the tunnel to the windmill and select the alarm flute that we purchased earlier. Blaze recommended that you buy in the town of Leaf. Select that and use it with A next to that person. I'll give you the key. Something I never understand. I'm not a professor of windmills, but explain to me how activating a windmill results in a very small localized explosion in the rock wall right there. I can understand that, maybe if it were operating a door or something, but there was clearly a small explosion of some sort. But anyway, you can see how far off we are from our first level. These tiger men give us one experience the same as little blue blobs, but they give us 2 gold, so to the 1 the blobs give us. As we make our way back into this cave here and talk to Zebu again, see that he makes good on teaching us that first spell, and it's a good one with the refresh spell to cure us. Now some information on the curing items. Here's Blaze.
Alright, let's talk about some of the restorative and status items you can purchase in the item shops in Crystalis. First, you have the recovery plant, gives you 32 HP back. Not that useful, especially once you get that recovery spell. Then we have the antidote, which you're going to want early on in the game. Cures poison, which if you don't have it, it'll just keep eating away at your HP until you're dead. You have the Lysis plant, the Lysis plant. It cures paralysis. Make sure you probably have 1 or 2 of these. You have the petrification plant, cures petrification. You have the magic recovery, which is 32 MP. I much prefer the ring, which we're going to talk about in a second. We have the curse healing plant. Doesn't come up a whole lot, but if you ever get changed form late in the game, you can use this. Then we have the magic ring, my item of the game, in this section at least, as this recovers all MP. Make sure you stock up on these in Chiron. The professor is going to talk about it when you get there, but my item of the game, have a whole row of these, and you basically cannot be stopped. Then we have the warp boots. It's nice to have some of these early on, especially before you have the warp spell. Warps you to the visited towns, or the towns you've already visited. Then we have the statue, which refills your health at death, assuming you have it equipped. I just assume have the magic ring and cure myself with recover, but there you go, think ahead. And then finally, the alarm flute for waking up a sleeping person. We're going to use this at 2 different points in this game, but there you are, the basic items you can purchase and or find, at least in the item shops in Crystalis.
Thank you very much, Blaze, as we are now in the windmill caves. Thanks to the door that the windmill unaccountably opened. As we pick up the ball of wind now, if we equip this, we can hold down B and get to level 2 with our sword of wind. This will allow us to create a strong gust of wind and destroy these gray barriers, which we could not pass before. A few items around here. Antidotes, good to have, especially around here when certain enemies can just touch you and poison you. We're not going to get the poison cure spell for a little bit, so. As we get close to hitting level 3, which is about where I think Gary's going to recommend. He's going to have his level recommendation for all the bosses, but certainly for this first boss, level 3 is a good starting point. Here we go. With every level up that you get more MP, more HP, and do more damage as well, obviously. A bit more life as well. Guess I kind of ticked that box when I said HP, but be very careful around these little pink creatures. They will poison you. Get a medical herb to cure ourselves a little bit. They're mostly redundant though. The only thing that we really need is the refresh spell. As we're coming up on our first boss here, we're going to throw it to a resident boss expert, Gary.
It's Scary Gary's Boss Beaters. Alright, the first boss in Crystalis. Note I'm going to be giving you a level recommendation for each of these. First, the Vampire. I recommend level 3. A lot of times, you need to be at this level, or just below it, in order to actually do damage to the boss, so use these as a good guide, follow along, and generally, just level up where the professor recommends you should be good, but just chase the boss around the room at level 3, just keep stabbing, and note that the faster he gets and jumps around, the closer it is to going down.
Thank you, Gary. And Blaze, what can you tell us about those rabbit boots?
Alright, the rabbit boots allows you to jump with the A button, assuming you don't have a spell equipped, so you can avoid some of the spikes, the poison, whatever you're stepping on that you don't want to be stepping on. It's kind of useful, it's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's a little fun. I can get behind that. As we are advised to go to Brynmaer. First, cross this bridge right here and just kind of weed around in the grass and you'll find a statue. Someone lost this in that town. To get there, we're just going to head straight west. Pop in here and talk to Akahuna. Give him his statue and he's going to give us gas mask. Blaze?
The gas mask. We need this to protect ourselves from the poison in the forest. Make sure you have this equipped when you go in there.
Alright, good call. And what do we need to buy in this town, Blaze?
Alright, in Brynmaer, I recommend finally buying the armor, especially if you haven't already in Leaf. Grab that leather armor for 140, gives you 6 melee defense. The bronze shield, pretty expensive at this point in the game, but 220 gives you 6 range defense. Grab some warp boots if you don't have some already, and have 1 antidote as well if you haven't picked one up.
Yeah, those warp boots are clutch for getting yourself out of trouble, or if you're about to die and don't have an antidote, maybe you're poisoned, you're losing life rather quickly, then the warp boots can get you back to safety. Save your life in a bad situation. See, that one guy got excited talking about striking it rich in the mountains. Hopefully that works out well for him. There's no reason I'm mentioning that, right? I'm just hoping it works out for the guy. I'm sure it'll be okay. Alright, so I recommend getting to level 5 on these warthog type guys as we jump ahead. After I did about 5 minutes of grinding, give or take. You can see we made a couple purchases here. Once you're at level 5, then you can go to a better grinding spot in this area. Make some good cash too, which is south of the town of Brynmaer. Southwest in this corner here, you'll find an exit which is going to lead to the Snowy Mountains, or one of the screens of Snowy Mountains. There's quite a few chains around here. Go right at the fork and enter this cave, and you can see the enemies in here are paying out much better. The little type, I don't know, bush creatures give us 8 experience each, but the red kind of walking around slithering dragon snake creatures, whatever you want to call them, they're giving us 10 each, so double the experience that we were getting just outside of that town of Brynmaer right there, so not a bad place to grind. Problem is you can't actually inflict any damage on those creatures until you're level 5, I believe, so that's why you have to kind of slum it with the warthog creatures in the short term, just to get to that stage. Once you're at level 6, then cross the bridge and head east here. We can finally go into that poison forest. Make sure you pop on that gas mask that we got from Akahuna. Blaze explained to us how it worked, just pop it on. Otherwise we'll be losing life by the second here in the swamp. Be careful, even at level 6, it's easy to get slapped around here. Note the route we took to get up here to this small village, where no one really trusts us, all these little Furbies. They're very cute, but they're also, they don't like outsiders. Probably because outsiders like myself come in, compare them to Furbies and say they're cute, and gotta admit it though. So once you've visited their village, we can head back out. And at this point, we can head north back to that house we came upon as soon as we entered this area in the first place, before we got the statue down there across the bridge. Go north up here. We have to go to that village first before Tornell will appear here. Wants us to face Stom. Just keep stabbing at him. If you're level 6, you should be able to beat him. Just keep going back in. Eventually, if you keep stabbing, you'll take him down. You'll force him against the back wall. Turbo certainly helps. There's a hack here. If you can't best Stom, you can use your warp boots if you've got some. Just warp back to Brynmaer, and it'll essentially treat it as if you won, and they'll give you the spell. So just a bit of a hack there, but again, if we just keep going back in at level 6, you should be able to force him back. Takes a few times. Eventually, I just feel like he starts to take pity on you. You can see he's not even like fighting back most of the time. When he does, he easily pushes us back, but maybe he's just tired from all the times that we keep showing up. There we go. Now we have telepathic abilities. Communicate with the wise men on demand. It's usually not that important, honestly, but if you need tips throughout the game, you can refer to them. But you got the ultimate Crystalis walkthrough here on Video Games 101, so don't worry, we got you covered. We'll be your telepathic powers and then some. So after you get that spell, we can head back in and better communicate with the creatures in this village. So go right a couple intersections and then head all the way north once again. And she'll mention that her son is missing. So now with that information, that will have triggered her son to appear in the poison swamp here. And there he is. He's very afraid. Seems like he can't quite keep up with you, then he has these little bursts of speed when he wants to catch back up. But yeah, just lead him back to the village. He'll go in his home. And then all of a sudden, everybody's our friend. We get the insect flute. You see they stopped barring the doors to everything in town so we can access. The village elder will give us the sword of fire now. We have our second sword. We don't have the ball of fire yet. So we're stuck at level 1 in terms of charging, but we'll use this to combat the boss, as Gary's going to explain. Stop in the inn if you need to, top off your health. And your magic level, of course. Gotta make sure we have plenty of refresh on demand to use. And just hug this wall here, follow it around, go all the way to the end to the right, and we're gonna go all the way up to get to the boss. Get that insect flute out, and then play it right here, and we've reached... Who we got, Gary?
Boss beaters. Right, the giant insect we recommend level 6 at this point. Now stay at the bottom of the screen, charge up that fire sword, and then when you have an opening, pop in, release it to get the damage in, retreat, and charge it up again. And yeah, just avoid the flying enemies when you can. You'll take them down.
Thank you very much, Gary. Yeah, not too bad. Just charge, fire, recover. It's just that little friend of the giant insect, which is annoying, and you can get impatient like I do. What I wouldn't give for a maxed out fire bracelet at this point. Let's see where they go. You get the sword, then you get the ball, which gets you to level 2 charge, and then the bracelet, which gives you maximum level 3. Now we have the ball of fire. So let's equip that. You can't mix balls with swords for interesting effects. I like that idea. I never thought about that before, but no. So now our charged up fire sword shot reaches level 2, and it's much more powerful. Stay at the inn one more time. We're pretty much cleaned out on money at this point. We can pop back in, confirm to the elder that we took down the giant insect. Unfortunately, they don't have anything else to give us. They just say, oh, just hold on to the sword and you get to keep the ball and everything. Yeah, we were going to do that either way, so. But that concludes our business here in the Poison Swamp. Head back out the way that we came in. At this point, we're going to head back to the mountain area. Bit of loot we can grab from that area before we continue on. Never a bad idea to always be stabbing, by the way. Whenever you're just moving around, because gratifyingly, the speed of our hero is pretty decent. He said we move it around at a pretty decent clip, which also means the screen scrolls faster as we go left this time. And now that we have the fire sword, we can hurt some enemies that we couldn't hurt before. There's some enemies that can only be hurt by certain swords. But as we jump ahead, we go up one level. See, these enemies don't respond to the fire sword, so they can only be hurt with the wind sword. But now, if we charge up our fire sword and go back at that fork to the right, where we did a bit of grinding earlier to begin with, you can see with that level 2 charged sword we can break through that ice wall. Back to Zebu and back to the opening area here, and he advises us to go back to Leaf. And when we show up, we see the town is deserted. We stop in the rabbit hutch here, and thanks to our telepathic powers, we learn that some evil men came and took everybody away. So now we're going to head back, just kind of fast forward a little bit here. Nice thing is, when there's enemies that are outside of your level, you can't hurt them, obviously. They just, bounce off your sword. But it works both ways, too. If you're a little too OP for the enemies in that area, as we were poisoned, unfortunately, then they just bounce off of you, essentially, so they can't do any damage to you, so it's always nice. Here we can use the rabbit boots to gain a little extra speed and not get the traction slowing ice. We can climb up here, enter this cave, charge up our fire sword and break this ice barrier. Gotta be very careful when we're low or out of antidotes. And there's the tornado bracelet. We have our first level 3 sword at this stage in the game. The level 3 attacks are very powerful, but they consume magic, which doesn't happen with the level 1 or 2 charged attacks, so depending on the move, it can eat more or less, or depending on the sword, I should say, it can eat more or less magic. We're gonna slide all the way down here, and then cut into this cave. Thankfully, we moved so quickly that I'm not worried about the fact that we are poisoned at the moment. Use those Fruit of Powers to get a small amount of MP back. I think we can accomplish our business and then warp out of here with the boots before we succumb to the poison. And while you're following along with where we're going, let's go to Fluff for a Fluff fact about Crystalis.
Crystalis was developed by SNK, who released roughly a dozen games for the NES in the late 80s and early 90s. Most of these games were ports from their already successful arcade games like Guerrilla War and POW. They also dabbled in the sports genre with Baseball Stars, Little League Baseball, and Lee Trevino's Fighting Golf.
Thank you, Fluff. His random little cameo, well, not that random, I mean, it was a golf movie, but in Happy Maguire, always makes me laugh. So we are nearing our destination here. In this maze, which is why we just recommend just following along. Again, this is the most direct route, as we're going to get a very important spell from Tornell here. And we get a magic ring as well, which is nice. So now we have teleport. So we don't have to rely on those boots anymore. That said, it's still not a bad idea to have a pair just in case you run out of MP at some point. Costs 20, so we're going to warp back to Brynmaer here. Realize I'm pronouncing it two different ways, Brynmaer and Brynmaer sometimes. I'm second guessing myself if I'm honest, but... Anyway, you'll notice that staying at the inn cures the poison. That's good to know. At this point, we should have everything that we need to proceed across the bridge and north this time. If we hadn't stopped off and gotten everything that we'd gotten to at this point, they would block us from continuing on this way, but once you have everything that you need, you can press on through here. Where we're going to try to rescue the people of Leaf who are somewhere in this area. So we have this little mountain inn right here. Good place to catch your breath. Adair's. Oh yeah, the guy from Brynmaer who was trying to climb the mountains in search of wealth somehow. I don't know. Is there gold in the mountain? I don't know. Anyway. Buy a few antidotes. Eventually we'll get the poison cure spell, but in the meantime... Rest at the inn, make sure you're topped off, and... Oh wow. That's the guy. He died really fast. I mean, it's really sad. I always thought this was a sad part in the game. We see that guy leave, he's all excited, and we even get a couple lines. Telling him to hold on. He's already dead. We could bring him some Nadair's food. It's within earshot. We can, speaking of being within earshot, little eavesdropping here. Those villagers. So they've enslaved the villagers, forcing them to work in the mines here. Well, at least they believe in their cause, I suppose, evil as it is. Again, the fire sword didn't impress them. Got the wrong spell queued up there. We want the refresh. It's unfortunate there's not more of those guards early on in the game, as they pay out pretty well. There's some red bushes up here, which give us 15 experience per. I think I might fight through them until we get to level 8. Actually, it's not a bad spot. So now here we are, we made some money, got some experience from those creatures. Again, I'm gonna try to not get poisoned here as we follow along. In more mazes around here, inside and outside of the mountain itself. Another barrier. Looks longer, but it's the same thing. Goes down with just one shot from our level 2 flame sword. Every now and then I might cut off from the most direct route to the objective in order to pick up a a valuable item or two, but for the most part, I like that design too, the kind of, I don't know, butterfly star that the charged sword creates around you. The little energy particles getting larger with each level, whether you have just the basic sword, the ball, or the bracelet. This is where the prisoners are being held. We'll open this left one first. There's one guy who says he saved me, big deal. There he is. It's an interesting... Got the key to prison, grab that first. It's an interesting reaction to being rescued. I don't know. Did he enjoy a life of slavery? I guess it was still new. He was still figuring it out. Trying to decide if it was for him. I guess we ruined that. Jerk that we are. So with this boss, we're going to need the wind sword and the tornado bracelet. We should be good at level 8, but we'll let Gary have the final word on that. Pop on up here and General Kelbesque. Gary?
Boss beaters. Alright, General Kelbesque. Recommend level 8 at this point. You want to stay at the opposite side, as far away from him as possible, and then fire your fully charged wind sword blasts when you have that opening. Heal as necessary, get to the opposite side, charge and fire again, you'll take him down.
Thank you, Gary. Yeah, he might be one of the more difficult bosses, actually, because all the little projectiles, the bullet hell he's got going on the screen, throwing all these things at us, but yeah, just keep moving. Like Gary said, I have to say, I think of all the maxed out levels of the various swords, I think the wind sword is the most underwhelming. Fire bracelet, very different thing. Love the fire bracelet. Just creates this ring of fire. Oh, Prof. Not to get all Johnny Cash, but it's incredibly deadly. As we switch back to the Sword of Fire. Let's go level 2 here. We don't want to eat into our magic supply. Especially not until we get to the next town, which should just be outside of this cave, actually. This next area is kind of set up in the same way. Oh, nice. Collecting spells left and right. Now we have paralysis. We can use this in a number of interesting ways, as you'll see. So we're coming up on the next town now. Let's go back to Blaze.
Alright, Portoa. I recommend purchasing the Platinum Armor for $2,000. Why? This will give you 14 melee defense. And then optional is the Platinum Shield. Again, it's awful expensive, 8 range defense. We're gonna find something before too long, or we can purchase something before too long, which will replace this. So it's your choice. It's very expensive and not the biggest upgrade. So if you got the money to burn, go ahead. Otherwise, not a big deal.
Alright, thank you, Blaze. Keep that in mind. So we'll head to the palace here. I teach etiquette. I'll do anything for the queen. There you go. If you're gonna brown nose somebody, might as well be the queen, right? Queen disappears. I mean, I see a door right back there. Take pride in its beauty. Don't wander around the queen's room, alright? It's that etiquette, I suppose. Now let's, for no reason whatsoever, there's the trader. We can sell stuff back to that person. Like Fluff mentioned. There's the fortune teller, advising us to go back and talk to the queen again. I mean, been 20 seconds since I saw you last. So you'll notice when you step out that the guard tries barring you. So if we use our new fancy paralysis spell to keep them from barring us, and we head back to this kind of secret area behind the throne room. Not much we can see as of right now, but certainly something to inquire about, perhaps. Yeah, you're doing a heck of a job, friend. Let's go see the fortune teller again. Go to the palace. Your way will be opened. See what the queen says about the secret passage. Yes. Here we go. Flute of Lime. Important for unfreezing frozen bodies. Go back to the old standby of refresh. Sometimes you wonder, as we head behind the waterfall as the queen instructed, sometimes you wonder if it's an issue. Might be a record for getting poisoned. There's no double poison, thankfully. You can get poisoned as many times as it will tell you, but unless you've already cured yourself of the poison, it really doesn't make any difference, so. If you anticipate getting poisoned quite a bit, like I do right here, then... Alright, so we can use our Flute of Lime on these two poor people. There we are. It's nice to save them, but they don't really have anything to give us. The important thing is they're out of the way now. As we have a fork here, let's go right. I think it's a sword issue here rather than a level issue. That's always the question. There's not multiple sounds or anything. You have to watch out. Yeah, some of their spells can freeze you. Some of them can transform you into a different creature as well later on in the game. So, a number of different negative status effects they can impart to us as we knock down this barrier and get the Sword of Water. Just hanging out in a chest behind the waterfall right there. We now have our third sword. Making progress here at a decent rate. I remember first time playing this game when I was obviously much younger. As a kid, you know, you could spend a whole weekend trying to figure this game out. But when you know where you're headed, then it's a much more manageable affair. I'm gonna keep 22 MP, as you can see, by design. At least 20 so that we can teleport out of here. I'm just hoping we can survive long enough to get to this other chest here on the left side. It's a race against time here. There we go. Another Flute of Lime. And we can see a familiar face in Akahana. I accidentally used some cure right there. And he's going to give us the shield ring. Blaze?
Alright, the shield ring doubles your range defense. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, pop that baby on.
Yeah, I'm interested in that sort of thing. As we teleport back to Portoa with our boots. Since I was careless with our magic. That's why I say it's nice to have that pair of boots, otherwise we'd be dead. Wouldn't have the magic to get back to town. Once again, blocking us out. Seems uncalled for. That just means that the fortune teller is in, I assume, right? Giving us tip after tip. $120 for the warp boots. Sort of like, do I trust myself to not blow through all my magic again? So we're gonna head south from the town after this, and while we're doing that, let's go back to Fluff for another Fluff fact about Crystalis. What do you got for us this time, Fluff?
SNK was founded in 1978 as Shin Nihon Kikaku, which translates to the very matter-of-fact New Japan Project. In 1981, the name was informally shortened to SNK Corporation until it was officially adopted in 1986. While SNK has had success releasing games for other systems, they're perhaps best known as being the creator of the Neo Geo Arcade Machine and home console systems, both initially released in 1990, the same year as Crystalis. The Neo Geo Multi-Video System, or MVS for short, was their combo arcade cabinet which, similar to Nintendo's PlayChoice 10, which was released years earlier, housed multiple SNK arcade games in one machine. The cabinets were a quick success upon their release, as they saved arcade managers floor space and were versatile as game cartridges could easily be swapped out to keep the cabinet fresh with the most popular and latest titles. These cabinets also boasted the most advanced technical aspects upon their release. Being marketed as the first 24-bit system, the CPU was in reality a 16/32-bit 68,000 with an 8-bit Z80 coprocessor, which its graphics processing unit chipset had a 24-bit graphics data bus for it. It was unrivaled in the arcade in terms of technical superiority until Capcom's CP System 2, which was released in '93. The other major reason for the success was the quality of the arcade-specific games the cabinets featured, including The King of Fighters, Fatal Fury, and Metal Slug.
Great games, all of them. Great arcade games in particular. You could see that we had to go down there and talk to the tree. Well, the guy that gave us the ball of water. He wouldn't even talk to us until we had the sword of water. So obviously, gotta make sure we have that first. This is a interesting village. They really don't like men here. There you go. No easier way to say it than I hate men. Tell me how you really feel. But we can use our same trick that we used at the queen in Portoa's place. Hypnotize or paralyze that woman. I'm not going to do anything to endear ourselves to the ladies here. Made the mistake of talking to anyone in this room. We head back in, ignore them, go back and around. We can get an item earlier than normal with the blizzard bracelet. Normally you're supposed to get that a little bit later when you use a type of magic that we do not have yet to trick the ladies. But we can come back here later. We still do need to talk to the queen under different circumstances, but... So this time, we're going to paralyze the guard. And we're going to use our level 2 water sword to freeze these little connecting pieces in the water to make a little bridge for ourselves. Very handy. We pop back through here, we could see we're actually cutting through the fortune teller's place. And look who it is. The queen and the fortune teller is actually... Wait for it. Asina. Yes, one of the 3 wise men. Well, wise people. Each one of them teaches us a different 2 spells, actually. So we get recovered and we'll get another one once we make some more progress. So recover will allow us to cure our poison status now, so we don't have to worry about the antidotes quite as much. Make sure you have a medical herb. Give it to this poor little dolphin here. Not sure where the dolphin was carrying the shell flute on it, but it's nice. And we can call our dolphin Uber on demand. Travel around the great ocean. We head just faster to teleport back to the entrance of Portoa here. Rest up, get healed up, get our magic back before we can head out into the ocean. We need the fog lamp to exchange for a boat, even though we just got a dolphin friend, but I guess we need to be more in the open ocean before we can call in our friends. So we'll take the boat to get us part the way there, but we can't get the boat until we recover that fog lamp that guy lost. So Actually, there's two things that we need. One is the fog lamp, the other is a special plant, which is going to be down in this cave to the east. So, gotta do a little spelunking before we head to the ocean. Believe when it's a normal cave like this, we need to use our wind sword to break down the barriers here. I don't think the water sword's gonna get it done. That's just for the freezing. This is the one we use to knock down conventional, just stone barriers. It's just the flame sword when it's ice, even though the ice looks a lot like the other barrier, but that's fine. And we're poisoned again. But it's just an excuse to use our handy dandy new recover spell. Pretty sweet. And we're poisoned again. Maybe we're better off. Got an antidote we can crush right now. There we go. The old-fashioned way. A lot of times later in the game, they just reward you, quote-unquote, for going down some of these dead ends with very mediocre early game type items like antidotes and things like that very late in the game. It's like, you know, level 15, about to beat the game. What am I going to do with a medical herb at this point in the game? But anyway, come out to this beautiful little garden here, this little patch. And just search around up there, walk up there to find the Kirisa plant. Then use those boots, unfortunately, to teleport back to Portoa again. To make sure we had those warp boots. Alright, so we have that plant, but we still need to get the fog lamp. There's one more area we haven't accessed yet with our ball of water. Create a little bridge there and cross. And this is where the fog lamp's gonna be. As we make our way through this cave to get the fog lamp, I'm told Fluff has more interesting information on the Neo Geo this time, actually. So, yeah, Fluff, take it away.
I briefly alluded to the home console Neo Geo earlier, but its story is more interesting than its arcade equivalent. First, I do mean equivalent literally in the sense that the technology in the Neo Geo Advanced Entertainment System, or AES, was the same as that of the arcade cabinets. This gave gamers who were willing to shell out big bucks for it a much more authentic arcade experience at home. When I say big bucks, I really mean it, as the AES cost consumers $650 when it became available for home purchase. Adjusted for inflation at the time of this class, that is roughly $1,500. That's not even accounting for the cost of the games themselves, which could cost as much as $300 a cartridge, or over $700 accounting for today's inflation. It cost so much that initially the console was only available to rent to commercial establishments like hotel chains, bars and restaurants, and other venues of the like. When SNK received consumer feedback that revealed that there were people out there with more money than sense, SNK expanded their sales and marketing into the home console market. The AES was the first console to feature a memory card for saved game storage, a technology replicated by the next generation of systems like PlayStation and Nintendo 64. In 1994, the much more affordable Neo Geo CD was released and moved from cartridges to CDs for their games, slashing the cost from $300 a cartridge to roughly $50 per game. SNK largely got out of the home console market in the late 90s and, after a series of setbacks, declared bankruptcy in 2001. Company founder Ikichi Kawasaki left the company shortly after and formed the Playmore Corporation and bid for and was awarded SNK's intellectual property rights in late 2001. The SNK name was rebranded years later, and these days their content mostly appears as re-releases, sequels, or other occasional crossover with other companies' other games from the late 80s and 90s.
Yeah, just $2,200 combined for the latest game and the system. That's a fair price, right? Everyone's just got that lying around. Note the sarcasm there. Let's give this guy back his fog lamp as we go into our belongings. And now we get to use his boat. Which again, why do you need a boat when you have a dolphin on call? And why do you need a dolphin when you have a boat? But we need both, apparently. Just looks like we're drifting out to sea right here. But yeah, all the boat does is take us here. There's Kenzu, looking like he has about a seasickness or something. He's all mixed up because he lost something. Kenzu lost his pills again. We'll find him. Actually, he's looking for his love pendant, which is in a nearby sea cave. And if we on the lookout to watch for Dragonia's attack. Alright. Yeah, I don't think any enemies are coming this far in to shore. So now we can use our shell flute. Use it to call our dolphin pal. Just hop on his back like he says. And now the ocean is ours. Pop off here for the small town of... Is this Joel? Let's go back to Blaze to find... Yeah, Joel Island. Blaze, what do we need here?
Alright, and Joel, just make sure you have an alarm flute. You're gonna need one pretty soon.
Alright, grab another alarm flute. At an extortionate rate, by the way. It's much more expensive than it was in Leaf. If you want to, you can actually teleport to Leaf if you want to save yourself, I don't know, 150. I thought I was a monster. Much more deadly than a monster. So we could... 300, that's crazy. So we could buy one of these for... I guess what's the price of that herb on the left? Yeah, we could have saved almost $200 on that had we used Fluff's little hack right there, but money's not hard to come by, and we'll be doing a bit of grinding in the ocean in a bit. The experience and the money, pretty decent payout for a lot of the enemies around here, so we'll probably look to get a couple levels at least. As we're still on the trail of Mija, we're always a couple steps behind Mija. As we travel throughout this game, hopefully we'll catch up to her eventually. Not a rescue trope, gratefully. Probably one of the reasons, another one of the many reasons I love this game as much as I do. So let's head west now into the ocean. Yeah, those guys pay out pretty well. Those squid monsters pay out really well. But let's duck in this sea cave here, and if we hug the north side, we'll find Kenzu's love pendant. See if we can give this back to him. He might have already moved on. Kenzu's the one that takes the longest to warm up to us, it seems like. He's already gone. So much for that. Well, we'll give it to him when we finally do catch up to him. I guess the dolphin can't go in the shallows. That's what got him in trouble in the first place. So if we want to get back to Portoa at this point, we'll have to use our teleportation. So we need to be at least level 9 before we can take down the squid creature and the other creatures in the ocean, which are invulnerable to the water sword, by the way, so equip a different sword when you do go up against them, but... So we want to get to at least level 9 before we do that. A good place to do that is to head south of Portoa, down here, en route to the place where we got the ball of water. These flying, I don't know, giant pixie fairy type creatures. I think they're invincible against the wind sword. Yeah, so let's swap out. Put on the flame sword, try that on them. And these guys pay out 60 experience each, so it shouldn't take you too long to get to 3,500. Once you hit that, I recommend going back to the ocean and going after the squid monster, as I'm about to die here. Gotta be careful with these guys when you're leveling up, because they take interesting tracks when they're flying in at you, and they can easily slap you around. But so I'm gonna jump ahead here, and after I've did a bit of grinding in the ocean, I recommend aiming for about level 12. It won't take too long when you're doing the grinding in the ocean against those particular creatures. One more thing I want to mention, as we teleport to the Amazons, we can get the mirrored shield for a decent price there, so we have an upgrade and the platinum armor as well. So they have no problem selling things to men, as long as we got the scratch. Then they don't find the idea of men quite as repulsive when we're willing to drop 5,000 or 6,000 gold on a whole new armor set. But now back to the ocean. Let's see, the next jump. It's 20,000 for the experience, but you can see why this is the place to grind around here. 144 for that one particular enemy, and then we got, what, 176 for the squid creatures. So I'd like to just do a little triangle between those 3 different enemies. They'll keep respawning, and you can hit level 10, level 11, and then level 12 without spending too much time. You can even go farther if you want. These little jellyfish in here are pretty decent as well. They don't move quite as much. They pay out pretty well, so the ocean, a lot of opportunities to get your levels up here. Most of the way. There's one final spot late in the game where you can get the last couple of levels. We max out at, I think, 16 is the highest level in this game, so we're 3/4 the way there. Had the water sword equipped as we entered this cave here. We can freeze once again to make these little bridges. Just mind the enemies that fly in every now and then. And the odd poisonous serpent-like creature. Beauty of doing all that grinding is we don't have to worry about them right now. We just avoid them. Don't have to fight anybody. Go back to our wind sword here. Go to level 2. Take this down. Grab ourselves another magic ring. We'll be able to purchase our own very soon, thankfully. And we're poisoned. Thankfully we have the recover spell. Note that the recover spell also cures paralysis and stone. Might be questioning how you can even use a spell if you're paralyzed or stoned. But anyway, I have no answers for that, but the only thing it can't cure is if you've been transformed via the curse, so be careful of that. I don't think we've seen an enemy which uses one of those yet. It's kind of a circle of small balls. No. Interesting sound effect to go along with it. Very unique sound effect associated with the curse. We have our first, or one of the first, mimic chests we've seen in this game. Refusing to give up on us, there's the Iron Necklace, Blaze.
The Iron Necklace doubles your melee defense. It's alright, but that's what it does.
Yeah, there are better necklaces to wear. Or rings, as the case may be. Seems to me you should be able to wear a ring and a necklace, but I guess that's too flashy for our hero. Even if that means sacrificing the ability to do more damage while simultaneously taking less damage. He doesn't want to show off. Prof, our character. Suppose I respect that. Be very careful here. Note the little moment that you get to get on and off, embark on that platform. Once we get the flight spell. By the way, if we just kind of walk over a chest and it slows us down, that just means that we're full up, can't hold any more items at this point, so That was a paralysis curing plant, which we don't need since we have the recover spell. Hey Clark, we're here in Zombie Town. Alright, Sabera is up ahead. We'll see what Gary has to say about taking on Sabera. Wonder what this served as in Zombie Town. This is like their gymnasium or something, the YMCA. Anyway, no time to think about that now, Gary.
Boss beaters. Right, the vampire revisited. Level 11 this time, we'd recommend. Just chase him around the room again, stabbing him constantly with the water sword, and the faster he jumps, once again, the closer he is to going down.
Alright, good luck. Thank you very much, Gary. And this is going to be more worth our time. Let's burn, like we just drop an antidote here. Fruit of Power. It's an upgrade, I suppose. At this point, if it's not a magic ring, I really don't care what else it is. If you go right there, there's a pit, and it just leads to a medical herb. Not worth the detour in the least. I think there's a spike field, too, that you can use the rabbit boots to mitigate a little bit of the damage, but for the most part, this place is pretty linear, as it leads us to Sorcerer in the back. I don't know if I believe you. In fact, I'm willing to stab you repeatedly in the chest, on a hunch. Let's go to, I don't know, what would be the most painful? Before you think this is too cruel, just know this is a boss, so, Gary?
Boss beaters. Alright, Sabera, recommend level 12 at this point. Time your fully charged sword blast, your fire sword blasts, when Sabera stops moving, so you can maximize that damage. That when your level 3 attack just explodes like a grenade in that one spot. Avoid their counterclockwise projectiles, and you should be in good shape.
Thank you very much, Gary. Yeah, that's my favorite level 3 sword move. Thunder Sword's pretty good too. Sorry, spoiler alert. We're getting the Thunder Sword last. We have a broken statue. We'll be using this before too long, but just drop in the back here, and then that's the quick exit. We'll be using this broken statue in order to access the next part. There you go. You have to find that island. I feel like the Gravedigger should be fired for the grave placements all over town.